Hey everybody, how's it going? So today I wanted to go over this laptop from frame.work. It's not out yet. A lot of you have been linking me to it asking what I think. So I'm going to go through the page, give you my ideas, concerns, and we go from there. This is from frame.work, introducing the Framework laptop. Upgradable, repairable, and 100% yours. So from the get-go, the first piece of information they want to get across to you is that this is yours. It's not like you're leasing it from the company, and it is repairable. They're not going over its Geekbench score. They're not going over how shiny it is or how light it is. The first piece of information they want you to know is that they are seeking to design a repairable product, which is cool. And their marketing material shows this very clearly. So the picture that you have over here, it has a screwdriver, it has the keyboard ripped out of the machine, it has all the parts ripped out of the machine. They're letting you know that they want you to be able to work on this device. It says the time has come for consumer electronic products that are designed to last without sacrificing performance, quality, or style. And the next picture you have is someone using a screwdriver to take a drive out of the machine. Now, for another certain company that maybe you can guess the name of, I have had customers that have gone in for the GPU repair on the A1286 2011 who've been told they had to put the original hard drive back in the machine in order to have them fix the bad GPU. So obviously they're showing a considerable difference in culture there from the big fruit by having images on their website of people opening it and replacing the drive, which I think is cool. I mean, it's sad that something like this makes me happy in 2021, but it does. Maybe that just kind of shows how far things have fallen. Now, when you go over here, it shows a 13.5-inch 3.2 screen. I love this. This is awesome because I remember even the ThinkPad Retro, they couldn't get a 4.3 screen. They couldn't even get a 3.2. They wound up using 16.9, which is ridiculous. So you have a device that was supposed, with the ThinkPad Retro, they were supposed to capture the feeling of the older ThinkPads, and you got a screen that, technically, sadly, a MacBook Pro Retina has a screen that's closer to a classic ThinkPad than the actual ThinkPad Retro. So I honestly, personally prefer the square type screens. I don't like the fact that I have to scroll down constantly. I kind of like monitors where it's more square. If I'm watching movies on it, by all means, I would prefer to have a 16:9 screen. But for actual work, I like 3.2. And this also, it says 100% sRGB color gamut, which is pretty cool because, as I've mentioned in prior videos, lots of PC laptops, even the gaming ones, come with screens that absolutely suck. So it's nice to see that they're actually focusing on screens, because for people who want to get work done, some people would like to not use a Mac, but they're forced into using a Mac because the screens on so many PC laptops are absolute horseshit. It says over here, you can upgrade the RAM and the SSD, and here it says it has a 1080p 60 frame per second webcam. So it says finally a laptop with great video conferencing built in. As you may know, you can buy laptops for $3,000 to $4,000 that are stuck at 720p 30 that we had like over 10 years ago. That's just something that seems to never change. And what's also cool is that it has privacy switches for both the camera and the microphone. So a lot of people cover their camera. I'm much more concerned about the microphone on my device, because what I say is far worse than you seeing me take my shirt off or something. And they have a switch for each of that. In my ThinkPad, I actually ripped the microphone out of it. But here you have a privacy switch for it. They have expansion cards. It says make adapters a thing of the past. So if you want a USB-C port, you get that. If you want a USB-A port, you get that. If you want HDMI, you can have that. If you want DisplayPort, you can have that. Micro SD, you can add storage. So the whole idea is, rather than the company decide for you what ports you get in the machine, they'll give you some ports, but you can also get these little modules that allow you to decide what type of ports you may want. So if you only need USB-C ports, you get your USB-C ports. If you want, 3 DisplayPort adapters or 3 USB-A, you come up with whatever you want. So make adapters a thing of the past. Again, this is a hit at the big fruit, I imagine, which is, at some point in time, you needed a $60 to $70 dongle to attach your $1,000 phone to your $3,000 computer. Pretty cool. It says designed for the future of work, an ideal aspect ratio, a great feeling 1.5 millimeter travel keyboard, no butterfly nonsense, a high life cycle 55 watt-hour battery, and finally an excellent webcam built in. So again, not 720p 30, actual 1080p 60, pretty cool. Deeply customizable to meet your needs. Electronic products don't need to be one size fits all. In addition to the expansion card system that lets you choose your ports, the Framework laptop lets you swap your keyboard language and layout and pick from a range of color options from the magnetic attached bezel. So now my guess is if they're going to allow you to easily swap out your keyboard language language, this is speculation, I don't have confirmation of it, is that the keyboard is not riveted into the case. More and more brands are taking the keyboard, the first thing that fails when you spill water, which is one of the most common ways to damage a laptop while you're using it, is riveted into the case. So instead of you unscrewing 4 screws, you have to rip out 100 or 200 rivets, and if you rip it out improperly and leave it in the computer, you're not able to fit a screw into that hole where the rivet is stuck, so now you have a keyboard that kind of floppily sits in your computer. It's a fairly horrible design, because there are machines that were made very thin, like the A1466 MacBook Air, where some rivets, but also a lot of screws, and you can have a thin machine that has it held together with screws rather than rivets. So I'm guessing here, this is just a guess, that this is not going to have a keyboard that's riveted into the case. I'm hoping that the keyboard is not riveted into the case if they're advertising it this way. So if it lets you just swap your keyboard language and layout and all that. And it also has a magnetic attached bezel for the screen. So one thing you may notice if you go over, let's say, just a screen repair video that I did a while back. Let me see if I have, here we go. So I have a updated video on how to repair a MacBook Air screen here. This is a horrible, horrible process. So it is not again, this is not attached with magnets. It is glue. This is stuck on there with adhesive. After you get this miserable bezel off, you have, which, by the way, while you're removing the bezel, very easy to destroy the screen ribbon cable. You have the screen is then glued into the machine. You need to use heat to kind of get in there. And when you do use heat, if you use too much, you will screw up the backlight layers behind it, because the LCD on MacBooks, and now sadly several other models of machine, are not one piece that you screw into the computer. It's actually multiple pieces that are glued together, because, well, why the hell not make it more miserable to actually work on? You have these back layers, which used to be part of the LCD screen itself, that are now part of the display assembly, and that is, so it forces you to either do an insanely difficult LCD cell, the front cell layer repair without damaging the back layers, or an incredibly inefficient repair, which is where you just replace the entire top display assembly even if you only need the screen, meaning you're replacing the hinges, the webcam, the metal, the support, all that stuff, and it's just absolutely horrible. So it would be really cool if this thing over here, when they say just remove the bezel, which is held on by a magnet, meant that removing this screen was something that you just unscrewed and you got out of the machine. It says upgrade and repair with ease. Along with socketed storage, Wi-Fi, and 2 slots of memory, the entire main board can be swapped to boost performance as we launch updated versions with the new CPU generations. High-use parts like the battery, screen, and keyboard are easy to replace. QR codes on each item take you directly to guides and the listing in our web store. Now, again, this is something that I would really want clarification on. So when they say the screen is easily replaceable and you can get a code in our web store, what does that actually mean? This is going to be what really separates the rhetoric from the delivery. So if you have a keyboard that is riveted in and then you force the user to replace the entire assembly and you sell them the assembly at, 66% the cost of the laptop, that's BS. If you have the keyboard screwed in, and it's a fairly easily screwed in keyboard, and you sell the keyboard to users for 15 or 40 bucks, then that counts. Now, when it comes to the screen, if this is a laptop, like, let's say, I don't know, like you have a ThinkPad laptop where you pop off the bezel and you take out 4 screws, the screen comes out, you pop the new screen in, and you screw it in, and the screen is anywhere from 45 to 100 bucks, that's cool. If you have a machine where what you see over here is an LCD cell, like what I'm going over in this MacBook Air screen repair video, where it's glued in and you need to remove it with this miserable process, then that does not count as easy to repair. Now, it could count as easy to repair if the QR code takes you to the entire display assembly for the top part of the machine, but then that would not be economically viable. I remember the display assembly to this computer going for over $500 when you could buy the computer for $900. It was insane. Whereas the LCD cell by itself could be purchased at the time of doing this video as low as around $72, which is affordable, but then again, a miserable repair. If you have something like some of the, like a, let's say, I don't know, ThinkPad T520, where you remove bezel, screw, clink, unplug, plug a new screen, put it back in, and the screen is around $50 to $100 depending on the configuration. That would be easy. Now, the reason that I express concern here is because I don't see any screw holes. So they've removed the bezel over here, and again, this is a production. This is just a picture for their website prior to the machine being available for sale, so I don't know if it's been retouched in any way, but I don't see screws over here, and that scares the ever-loving shit out of me. So it looks like, I don't know if this is a black bezel that's sitting on top of the screen, or if they've taken off the orange bezel or whatever. I can't really, I don't know if there's something under there that I'm missing, but I don't see I don't see screws around the screen in any of these pictures, and it may be silly that I'm expressing this as a concern here, but I'm really, really worried about this kind of design being what's featured. And, call me pessimistic, but I'll believe it when I see it. And now again, with the QR codes that lead you directly to guides and listings in the web store, if I were able to actually see the parts in the web store, then I'd be able to answer these questions. I don't see a web store on their site yet because it's not released, but these are the types of things that I want to see so that I can confirm that this is actually a repairable device rather than just, the equivalent of Apple's IRP program. In addition to releasing new upgrade modules regularly and ensuring replacement parts are available, we're opening up the ecosystem to enable a community of partners to build and sell compatible modules to the Framework marketplace. That sounds awesome. I really like that. So again, I'm really looking here. I'm trying to see if any of these pictures give me any insight into how that keyboard is screwed in or how that LCD is screwed in, because that's really going to determine the ease of repair here. It says, assembled by us or built by you. The Framework laptop is available in a range of pre-configured models running Windows 10 Home or Pro. For those of you who love to tinker, we've also created the Framework Laptop Do-It-Yourself Edition, the only high-end notebook available as a kit of modules that you can customize and assemble yourself with the ability to choose Windows or install your favorite Linux distribution. Regardless of the path you take, we include a screwdriver in the box you can upgrade over time. This is cool. I think it's awesome. I just do kind of wonder if that's going to bite them in the ass. As someone who used to run a LCD screen wholesaling company that went down in flames, I like the idea of people working on their own stuff. I really do. But then when you're selling them on marketplaces where people can call the 800 number on the back of their credit card when they break the stuff that you sent them trying to put it together, that they're ambitious. I'll give them that. And I really do hope the idea works out. I genuinely do, because it sounds awesome. But I worry for their customer service department there. 100% yours. It's time for long-lasting products that respect your right to repair and upgrade. So there they're mentioning the name, which is awesome. We're bringing this mission to notebooks with the Framework laptop and to additional categories as we go. We can't wait to build a better consumer electronics industry together. And this is really awesome. This is what I've been talking about on this channel for a long time. So, there's a lot more than just legislation to right to repair. So there's a video that I did a while back that right to repair is 99% inspiration and 1% legislation. And the idea here is that getting people that work within companies that are anti-right to repair, or people that are wanting to start their own companies to recognize right to repair, to want to create products that are repairable. This is what matters. It's the cultural shift that's going to matter more than the legal shift. When people starting their own companies and making them successful and actually selling products that are repairable, that are awesome, and people choose to buy them, this is the real right to repair. It's not just a piece of legislation that winds up getting passed. It's when regular people decide, we've had enough of this, we're not going to take part in working for companies that are anti-right to repair. We'll start our own companies that'll make products, and they're going to beat them. And by all means, I wish them the best of luck. We can't wait to build a better consumer electronics industry together. Sustainable. The single best way to reduce the environmental impact on electronics is to make them last longer. You can repair and upgrade the Framework laptop to make it work great for as long as you need it to. On top of that, it uses 50% post-consumer recycled PCR aluminum housing, aluminium if Dave Jones is watching, 30% PCR plastic, and fully recyclable materials for packaging. Cool. Privacy focused. Built-in hardware privacy switches give you complete control over access to camera and microphones. Our embedded controller firmware is fully open source, and we don't preload any extra software. You can even install a privacy-focused OS and a storage expansion card and take it with you. That's cool. So our embedded controller firmware is fully open source. I imagine that's their way of saying You're welcome to turn off the webcam, but you can see that we're not purposely spying on you, or we haven't put any sort of backdoor in there that's just going to allow someone else to turn on the webcam, which is cool. But if you don't trust it, by all means, and there's a lot of reason for people to not trust it, you have built-in hardware switches, which is cool for the camera and the microphone. The microphone is a really important one that I think a lot of people miss out on. Again, what is a scarier thing? Someone seeing you do this, or hearing you say, "I'm cheating on my wife"? Again, like when it comes to privacy, it's really the audio is a lot more damning than the video, in my opinion, for when you're sitting in front of your computer or you're in your living room. And I like the fact that there is a hardware switch for the microphone. It says that it is shipping in summer of 2021. Now, I can't find anywhere anything for a store on this website. And I was looking for the store because if we see what the store looks like, it'll answer my questions regarding the actual repairability of the device considerably more so than the rhetoric. And I'm not saying that I disagree with the rhetoric. I think they have good rhetoric. It's just, does it live up to the rhetoric? And, again, I want to believe that they do. I really do. But it's just one of those things where at this point, I believe it when I see it. And that's pretty much that. I think it's really cool what they're trying to do. I wish them the best of luck and success in doing it. And my only concern there is that when they say that certain parts are repairable or modular, that they wind up pulling an Apple IRP where they say, listen, you can get access to the entire top case of the machine for like 45% the retail of it. Or you can get access once you're authorized to the display assembly for $550 to $700 rather than just the LCD cell by itself, or that it's constructed in a way where that's the only way that you're able to make it an easy repair, because otherwise, if you actually want it to be an economical repair where you're replacing just the part that is broken, the part that makes the picture, rather than the entire assembly, you're doing this type of ridiculous hippie horseshit over here that I've been doing for the past 7-8 years in the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro Retina. I genuinely despise this. This is an aggravating way to fix the machine. And don't get me wrong, we'll learn it, we'll do it, and we'll excel at it. But this is not something that the end user is going to be able to do. Like 90% of the end users that I've spoken to that say, I'm going to do this myself, usually wind up coming back into the store with their machine in pieces. All of these back layers that are sitting behind here wind up being completely and utterly destroyed, fingerprinted, screwed. I can't buy those layers by myself, and even if I could, aligning them by hand is absolutely miserable. When you're doing a repair like this, the answer to the question of how do I replace the back layers when I screw them up, don't screw up the back layers. Once you screw up the back layers, you're truly effed. And I'm kind of curious how the screen is put together there. Again, these are early photos, so perhaps I'm being too overly cynical or critical. It's just the take-apart photos really don't give me the ability to see how that is, how the screen is put in there, and I don't get this, and it doesn't allow me to, get an idea of. Again, this gives me hope that they are selling the keyboard separate from the case. I like that they have this separate from the case because it tells me that there is hope for the keyboard being easily repairable. But yeah, at this point, I really am just kind of, I'll believe it when I see it kind of guy. Also, obviously, at the end of this, schematics and board views. There's been no mention here as to whether schematics or board views for the motherboard are going to be available. If they do make schematics and board views widely available, then then that would be great. If I have to go to VinaFix for schematics and board views, that would suck. And with Apple products, as much as they put effort into not allowing the schematics and board views to get out, the insane demand for schematics and board views to Apple products because of how many people use Apple products ensures that even if Apple doesn't want it to leak, it eventually leaks. It's actually smaller companies like this where it may be more difficult to get schematics, because if it's a niche product, then if there's just not that demand there that would incentivize someone to risk their job or risk their career or whatever, so that I can tell where what chips or what are connected where, or what resistors or what resistance and stuff like that. I hope that they do make schematics and board views like the stuff that I show you when I do board repairs available. And if they are going all the way with the whole right to repair thing, again, to be clear, if everything that they've put on this website is true and done in good faith, they've already done more than 99% of the companies out there. to fully embrace the whole right to repair thing, I would need to see some schematics or board views. Again, those mouse pads and t-shirts that I had printed up 5 years ago, they had a very particular slogan on them with Mr. Clinton. It said schematics or die, and that's, I got to stand by that if I'm going to give the true right to repair stamp, Rossman stamp of approval to this thing. Another concern, in addition to schematics and board views, will obviously be when we do try to buy a charge controller or a USB-C mux chip to replace on that motherboard when it goes bad. Are we going to be faced with Texas Instruments or Renesas or Intersil telling us, oh, yeah, we can't sell that chip to you? That's, again, from the ethos that they have proposed on their website, I don't think that is going to be the case, but it's something that I would need to know before, again, giving that full right to repair stamp of approval on that particular product. I really hope them the best of luck. Again, they're trying to do something that very few companies are actually doing, and they've got the ideas right. And it's really hard to put your money where your mouth is with stuff like this, because it's going to be a niche market of people who care about this. Most people don't care about repair until they break something and realize that this was a problem. Most people don't even understand this is a problem. They're putting their money where their mouth is in a very unique way, and honestly, it's probably something that I wouldn't have the balls to do myself, but they do, and I wish them the best of luck and success with it. So that's about it. See you all in the next video. Bye now.